All right, everybody, here we are, Kung Fu Discussion Group, episode 6. Today we'll be discussing anatomical targets and the methods used to attack them. This is going to be a fun one. With me, as always, is Matt and Alex. Guys, how you doing today?
Good.
Excellent. We ready to talk about the real fun stuff, the meat of martial arts practice? Punching motherfuckers in the face?
Yes.
All right. So we were just saying in the pre-recording discussion, well, I was just saying, in my experience, one of the biggest hurdles in trying to teach people is getting them to accept that they need to learn enough about anatomy to know where to punch people. There's a lot of people out there who think that just because they have a fist and a face, they know what it means to punch another person in the face. And that's not always true, because 9 times out of 10, you take one of these people that's never practiced before or that's never really been in a fight, and what are they doing? They're punching somebody directly in the cheekbone. They're punching somebody directly in the forehead, you know? They're using, actually, this is another good one, the meat at the base of the hand, right above the wrist. They're slapping somebody in the
right.
something with that. So lots of fun stuff. Needless to say, that's the type of person that always thinks that you're doing magic when you use a technique that requires a specific target of attack. So basically anything involving the ribs, anything involving the waist, anything attacking the back of the body, anything attacking a joint, you know, beginners and clowns, they're like dazzled. How did you do that? Oh, they think the only way to knock the wind out of somebody is to punch them in the stomach. But again, from before the recording, they're just raining these weak, empty blows around the belly button. What does that mean? You know, there's some specific places on the body where you don't have to hit, you can touch, and it's going to make somebody not able to breathe for 30 to 90 seconds. So that's going to be the subject today. We're going to talk about all this fun stuff, things that teachers of the past and decades vetting you and testing you to see where your morality lies before they would even discuss it with you. We are just going to put it right out on the internet today because
fuck it.
Right? It's all there. If you've ever read an anatomy book, you should be able to figure out how to knock the wind out of somebody.
You don't have to hide the secrets because people don't see them, right?
Yeah, exactly. That is exactly right, Matt. I can't count the number of times I've looked at somebody directly in the eyes with this face and been like, I'm going to do this, and this is what's going to happen. And still had to explain for half an hour afterwards, oh, bro, how did you do that? You know? Oh, I'm going to punch you in the face. No, you're not. You're going to break your wrists. I don't know if the only person who had ever hit me in the face and almost broken their wrist, like if only women had ever done that, I would never talk about it the way that I do. But because more than 0 men have hit me in the face and then grabbed their wrist and been like, afterwards, yeah, that's why I'm okay with bringing it up, because how can you be a man who has a temper and runs his mouth and threatens other men, but you don't know enough about making a fist to actually protect yourself, you know? I love having that argument with people. Whoa, Mr. Martial Artist, what do you do if someone does blah, blah, blah? Oh, I would do this. Well, that wouldn't work. You'd break your wrist. You'd break your wrist. I'd break that person's ribs. I'd break that person's jaw. I would knock that person unconscious because I actually know how to make a fist. I know how to strike. And as we've just mentioned in the title, I know anatomical targets. So Gentlemen, is there anything cool other than the doodoo line bust? Because I'm not going to give that one away on the internet. That's my most powerful secret technique. Is there anything that you don't already know how to do that you want to learn how to do? What sort of violence do you want to inflict on your unwitting victims, gentlemen?
Well, shutting off different parts of the body, making them not really usable, like hitting the nerve clusters in the elbow, or hitting anything like that. Maybe tapping the kidneys. One of those.
The kidney tap. So, for nerves, I recommend finding a YMAA branch school and taking one of their Qin Na seminars.
Awesome.
Alex, you're actually in luck because they've got one coming up in the next week or so.
Oh yeah,
YMAA Boston over in Austin.
completely forgot about that. Yeah,
Oh yeah, if you could make it, I would so recommend that you go. YMAA is a great place to learn about joint locks, because if you've got somebody who is a YMAA instructor like Ben, who runs YMAA Boston, he learned Qin Na directly from Dr. Yang, and Dr. Yang loves Qin Na, so he's really good at it. If you study with Dr. Yang, you will also get really good at it, and so on and so forth. So I really encourage, I would, and not just because I'm shilling for my teacher in my school, but yeah, you want to learn about getting the nerves. YMAA Qin Na material is a good way to go, because when you do the Qin Na right, unless it's actually dislocating or breaking a joint, if you do it right, what's going to happen is the nerve in an area is going to get affected. So,
You say affected or infected?
affected. Yeah. Like the famous wrist lock, the small wrap hand. You guys know my man Paul. So when I was living just around the corner from YMAA Boston, the old YMAA Boston over by Forest Hills before Dr. Yang moved out to California, he would come over and he would spar with me and my roommate, that kid whose name I won't say because he's a dork. Sour grapes. But, he'd come over and sometimes he would try to pull things off, and Paul, who did not study Chinese martial arts and did not attend YMAA and mostly knew about striking and weapons, didn't know anything about joint locks, didn't know anything about kicking, but he had striking, weapons, and like basic wrestling. He would say, "Oh, that's not how you do that." And finally my roommate one day just kind of blew up and was like, "Well, you don't know how to do it. How do you know I'm wrong?" He's like, "Well, when Brad does it, my whole arm turns off and I fall to the ground like I've been shocked." And the kid got even angrier. But
Awesome.
that's the whole, when you put on small wrap hand correctly, the person should feel a jolt of pain in the nerve. And nerve pain always, with the type of pressure that you put on it with that joint, it feels like an electric shock. So they should feel like they've been tased. That arm should go numb. They should drop to their knees immediately. If you put a wrist lock like that on somebody and they don't do those things, you've either done it wrong or they have way more strength and flexibility than you thought. Like a double jointed person, small wrap hand isn't going to work on them. It just doesn't, because they can bend their wrist into that position, no problem. So you have to go for a different joint. You have to try and basically choke them out. You have to try and get their arm, like get control of the shoulder, basically at the shoulder joint with somebody that has a lot of flexibility in the tendons. So the I just remembered I was going to send you guys that link for that anatomy book. But this book that I'm referencing, Essential Anatomy for Healing in Martial Arts, it's by a guy named Mark Tedeschi. This is a nice introductory book for the sort of knowledge that you'll need as a martial artist. You know, if you aren't comfortable with kind of teaching yourself anatomy from Gray's Anatomy or something like that, if you don't have a teacher that you can learn from, that will like personally go over and teach it to you, this is a nice intro reference that'll get you started, because it's got, you know, the Western structuralism in anatomy. You know, this is this bone, this is this muscle, this is this, you know, nerve cluster, whatever. But it also has the Eastern concepts too, so you can understand, you know, this is the such and such channel. It's connected to, you know, so-and-so organ. If you strike it in this way at this time, this is the general effect, and da-da-da-da-da. So a lot of people are comfortable with the idea of anatomical targets when it comes to something like striking a chi cavity or trying to, you know, do something like that, messing with the circulation, messing with the nerves. But they don't realize that it's also like basic stuff, like we said, if you're going to punch me in the face, you know, here is a bad idea, here is a bad idea, but there's a bunch of really good ideas on the face. There's the tip of the nose, there's the actual, like not punch somebody in the eye, but actually punch somebody in the eye. But what's going to happen if you do that? You don't want to go in there and, you know, blind somebody because you've crushed their eyeball, or like shattered their orbital bone and stab them in the eye or something like that. Everybody knows about that saying from Western boxing, you know, you get knocked out easy, they say you got a glass chin. Okay, well, what does that mean? Where's that sweet spot on the jaw that if you tap somebody there, their brain turns off? What's the angle of attack? Those are the sort of things that also go into, like, those are the sort of things, the sort of questions that you learn to ask when you study anatomy as it relates to attack and defense. So you come to realize, if you punch this part of the torso with this amount of force moving in this direction, a person passes out. But if you use the same amount of force in this other direction, they throw up whatever they had for lunch. If you use that same technique in that same direction, but you put it on this other part of the torso, they piss their pants. You know, if you do, like, and you don't just become better at violence, you become better at actual self-defense. Like all the real experts will say, self-defense isn't in ripping your shirt off and acting like Bruce Lee, as fun as that can be. It's situational awareness. It's awareness of attack and defense. If somebody's coming at you with their arm cocked up in the air like this, and they're looking directly in your eyes, chances are you're about to get punched in the mouth or in the nose. So you learn how to anticipate where an attack is going to come from. As long as you can see what they're about to do, it's so easy to understand. This guy's going to try and give me a roundhouse. This guy's going to try and give me a jab. This guy's going to try and punch me in the, you know, he's going for the gut. He's going for the throat. He's going for the, you know. And that's one of the things that really separates an experienced, competent martial artist, a fighter, from somebody who does martial arts, somebody who plays. You know, I love making fun of the man called Tubbs, not just for his unseeniness, but also because, you know, the three of us are sitting here. We got a guy who's in his mid-20s. This dude has been practicing martial arts pretty much as long as you've been alive, Alex. And he still has that dream that prepubescent boys have about being too weak to win a fight or defend yourself. Do you know that dream? Do you remember that dream from when you were like
I never had that problem.
Oh, you never all right, well, some people have this dream when they're little boys where they're fighting someone and they punch them directly in the face, and it's like a regular person punching Superman. Absolutely no effect. Doesn't matter that you put everything you had into it. You don't have anything. This is a grown man having that sort of dream. And after almost 10 years of learning martial arts from me and sparring with me multiple times a week, he still got nervous every time it looked like there was going to be some sort of physical problem in his life. Because what if I'm not strong enough to win? Bro, if you can successfully avoid being knocked out by me when I'm healthy, attacking aggressively, targeting knockout points on your body, then you're going to be able to handle some fucking crackhead on the North Shore of Massachusetts. You're going to be able to handle some 20-year-old dork in a college town. You're going to be able to handle your girlfriend when she's real mad about something for some reason or whatever. But, you know, it's disgraceful that there are the reason that the MMA guys, don't have any respect for the ones that don't respect us traditional guys. The reason people don't respect traditional martial arts is there are too many people in our camp that don't know about any of this stuff. Great, you can do this routine, you can do this kata flawlessly, marvelous. What's the fifth movement? And what's the target? What's the primary target on the opponent's body? What is the technique? Oh, you can perform this weapons routine flawlessly. Great. What is the target on the body that you are trying to attack with the fifth motion? You know, what is the technique? What is the target? Those are questions that some people don't ask in their study of martial arts. So if you don't know, if you look at a routine or a technique and you don't understand why it is the way it is, what it's trying to do to wear on the opponent, have you really learned the technique? And more than that, if you don't understand why strike X gets result Y on the opponent, how are you going to apply that knowledge to a fight situation and protect yourself from receiving that strike? You know, if you don't know how to knock somebody out by punching them in the solar plexus, how are you going to defend your solar plexus from an attack? If you don't know how to choke somebody out with a lock on the throat or the neck, how are you going to defend yourself against somebody trying to choke you out? You know, one of the big things that MMA guys have that I really like is they make the point, if you want to learn how to defend yourself against somebody who strikes, go spar a boxer. If you want to learn how to defend yourself against somebody who's going to grapple, go train with Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu guys. That's exactly true. If you want to learn how to defend, all right, so if I'm 6'3", how did I learn how to defend against people trying to grab me up by the legs and dump me on my back and completely negate my height advantage? I had a bunch of people smaller than me try and fucking grab up my legs and dump me on my back and completely negate my height advantage. That's how you do it. You know, for a smaller guy, the man called Tubbs, he's about 5'8". Most of the people that he's in his life found himself dealing with in an aggressive way, they've been his size up to my size or bigger. Okay, how are you going to deal with a guy who's over 6 feet tall when you're 5'8"? You find a guy who's over 6 feet tall and you have him try and punch you in the face exactly the way other people my size would do. So after years of that, to have no confidence still means there's a deeper issue here than the material of martial arts practice or study, you know?
Mm.
There are a lot of people, oh, I can't defend myself because my teacher didn't teach me the secrets. He did teach you the secrets. You just don't know how to fight. And that one does go out to the man called Tubbs. You don't know how to fight because you don't listen. And it really, as a teacher, it infuriates me if I'm telling somebody, do it this way. I get that there are teachers that are on power trips. I get that there are control freaks and there are weirdos, but you have to have a little faith that when the teacher tells you to do it exactly this way, they're trying to lay a foundation, you know? It's so important to do in a routines-based martial art, like a modern martial art, a modern version of a traditional martial art, where you spend a lot of time practicing a routine, practicing set combination patterns. They want you to learn certain mechanical habits very well. And then they tell you the principles that you use to apply those mechanics in a fight situation. So in a traditional Chinese martial arts sense, withholding knowledge of the anatomical targets on a body, that's the only, like, if you just take that one piece of information out, I can train you for 20 years and you'll never be able to hurt another person except through blind luck, which is exactly the same as never having been trained at all. And you'll never be able to defend yourself except through blind luck, which again is exactly the same as an untrained person or, you know, regular life. So in the days before the internet, you could only get that knowledge from somebody who had the knowledge. Now, if you want to know how to hurt somebody, all you've got to do is go to the internet and you can learn enough about anatomy, enough about the structure of the bones and the joints, even without studying a martial art with a teacher, even without going to a boxing gym or joining an MMA group. You can learn enough to hurt other people and defend yourself. Of course, the problem will be that when you meet somebody who is a member of a boxing gym or an MMA group or studies an actual martial art with an actual teacher, they're going to clean your clock. So, any thoughts, any reactions? Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he didn't die yet. At least I haven't lost connection yet. That's something that was an issue in Aikido, where everybody learned and practiced the routines and the katas and stuff. But in a fight, I'd never heard of anyone being successful at all whatsoever. I think I was the exception, simply because none of the stuff that we were taught how to do was involved attacking from behind and like having a bear hug, or anything like that with someone that was roughly your height. But I did experience this, and I just took their hands, stepped out, put them into had their hands up like this, and basically slowly began breaking their fingers.
That's a good. That's a good response too.
Yeah, I didn't break their fingers, but I know part of me wanted to, but I knew I had to have that that discipline of not crushing them. So I just let them go. But I was like maybe 12 or something like that. But so I was younger and so on and so forth. But everyone else that I had practiced with never did any of that with Aikido alone. If they did something like that or found themselves in that situation, they either had prior training or they did other stuff after practicing Aikido. So with a lot of Aikido, that's a problem. You have people that are like, I want to know how to fight, or I don't know how to do this. Like, You are taught everything. You're a higher rank than me. How do you not know this? That was part of the reason why I found myself having to not study Aikido anymore, is because I was getting frustrated in more ways than one. I couldn't find myself applying anything that I was learning, except in the very extreme cases. And other martial, I figured out, it took a second, but I figured out that other martial arts are doing it a lot better than Aikikai or Aikido. Like jiu-jitsu of any kind will mop the floor with any Aikido guy. So, you know, because they do it all better, and they train to fight. So,
yeah, realistic training is so much better than any moralizing, philosophical, you know, crystal power, woo-woo, new age garbage. And it's a shame that one of the most combat effective martial arts created in the last 100 years, it's a shame. It's a shame that Aikikai is a bunch of people in pajamas, basically, you know, bananas in pajamas. It's a shame that it's been reduced to that. But that's why we're here, to help you. The secret part of the application method is anatomy.
Yeah.
You know, an Aikido person learns so much about joints and the chain of movement in the skeletal system. Aikido is 85-90% joint locks and joint manipulation.
Yeah.
And unbalancing type takedowns. So for a person to spend more than 5 years studying Aikido and not be able to put a fucking WWF armbar on a person.
Yeah.
To not do an upper-lower scissoring takedown. It's a shame, because, I mean, I get that O-sensei didn't want people to go out and brutalize other people. You know, I respect the man's wishes for peace in the future. But as we've already pointed out, if you don't know how to knock somebody down by using the palm of your hand applied to the side of their head in a non-striking way, how are you going to defend yourself against that? Because I know that technique, and I've dumped more people than I can count.
Mush-Out, right?
Yeah, and not just to the face. I can do it to any part of the head. I can do it to most of the upper body. That, of course, is a function of being over 6 feet tall, but anybody can do it. You just have to know the mechanics. You have to understand the anatomical principles. So the whole point originally of forms-based martial arts teaching was, I'm going to teach you this routine of stylized motions, and it's going to improve your mechanical capacity. You'll move better. You'll move efficiently. You'll develop a kinesthetic awareness. That's part one. Part two is, I'm going to teach you how to feel your own body with these breathing techniques and these stretching techniques and these range of motion exercises. So now those two go together, and you've got a near perfect understanding of how a body moves, what balance means, and how balance is maintained in awkward positions and through seemingly unusual motions. Okay, now you combine that with anatomical basics. What happens when you snap your fingers 3 inches from somebody's face? What happens when you make a feint like you're going to hit somebody in their genitals? What happens when you use yin-style baghua's penetrating palm directly at somebody's Adam's apple? Doesn't matter who the person is. The vast majority of us, even people with experience, people like me, will still react the same way, because the human body is made to react to certain things. But there are other things that are even better that the human body is not made to react to. Like some of the dynamite targets that are in the vicinity of the ear. Most people think if you're going to attack someone's head, well, I'm going to punch you in the face. I'm going to punch you in the mouth. Yeah, great. That's great. That's great. But even people that don't know how to fight are expecting that. But are you expecting to get punched behind your ear? No. Are you expecting to get punched on one of the sutures in the back of your skull? No.
Whoa.
What happens when you do that? I know what happens. You know? So there's a lot of places. There are places where no matter what your size, you're going to be in pain if this is struck. There are places on the body where no matter your amount of strength, if I do this, X motion to this part of the body, you are going to fall on your face. Guaranteed. So the second big benefit after knowing the most obvious places to defend on your own body, that comes from studying anatomy, is you get to learn about attacking those places on a human body that are structural and mechanical weak points for every single human being that has ever lived and is going to live for the next 10 to 30,000 years. But nobody is really aware that they're weak points. Lots of people know about protecting their crotch, protecting their solar plexus, and protecting their face. But they don't realize that there are literally dozens of points in the intercostal muscles and the intercostal area, the area between the ribs on the rib cage. You don't need to smash somebody. You just need to poke somebody. And it's going to partially or completely knock the wind out. Or my favorite way of explaining that spot on your back underneath the shoulder blade, but above the kidneys. If I slap this the way you slap a friend on the back, it's going to make you go, ugh. So if you strike it forcefully with an intent to injure, it's going to, as Dr. Young would say, seal the breath. It's going to knock the wind out of them. They're not going to be able to breathe for about 90 seconds. So they're either going to panic and pass out, or they're going to be left so open that you can actually deliver a knockout or incapacitating strike. Or more if you're feeling in a killing mood. But don't kill unless you have to.
Yeah.
So, this might come in as our shortest episode only because you can only say the same thing so many ways.
Yeah.
But this is a subject that people really, if you're serious about learning martial arts for practical reasons, this is a subject that you need to pay attention to. You need to understand why you do the things you do in your style. To Alex's point, Aikido is a martial art that is really concerned with balance and mobility. It's a lot of joint locks. It's a lot of takedowns. Everybody's seen a Steven Seagal movie for the most part. And what he does looks super cool. So how can you spend decades studying Aikido and not be able to put an arm bar on someone? What's the point of studying a martial art that specializes in joint control and you can't control a joint? You can't stop somebody from controlling your joints. What's the purpose of learning Taekwondo if you can't do a split and kick somebody in the head? Now I'm thinking of a lot of people that we don't need to make fun of in this video. We can do that after the video is over. But the one of the health benefits that can come from studying martial arts, in a very dedicated manner for a long time, as I said, you learn what to protect and how to protect it. But you also learn how to deal with everyday problems, everyday body aches, everyday traumas, you know. I'm sure we've all seen somebody stub their toe and their day is ruined, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, how do you get around that? You can study martial arts and develop more kinesthetic awareness and situational awareness, and now you're not stubbing your toe on that one little spot every time you walk by it. Even better is if you do stub your toe or bang your knee or hit your elbow in a spot that you're not familiar with, you don't have to be one of those people having a ridiculous, hilarious overreaction to the sudden surprising pain. Because if you've learned a recovery practice, you know how to deal with the bumps and bruises. You know how to deal with an injury, you know? A lot of the old-time Chinese martial arts guys weren't just fighters. There were a lot of traditional doctors, too. You learn how to fight. You learn bone setting. You learn herbal medicine. You learn acupuncture. You learn massage as well. So that's a good benefit. You know, martial arts isn't just hurting people. It isn't just fighting, whether aggressively or defensively. It's also healing people. A lot of really good Chinese, like teachers from China and teachers of Chinese martial arts. I'm sure, you know, other martial arts have this too, but I'm mostly a Chinese martial arts guy. I've heard this mostly from those teachers. If you can heal the body, you can hurt the body. If you can hurt the body, you can heal the body. So that's one big benefit people don't really give enough acknowledgement to. It's there and it's easily had, you know. You don't, if like the man called Tubbs, you find yourself being on the lower end of the athletic ability spectrum, that doesn't mean it's pointless or fruitless or meaningless to study the advanced Kung Fu, you know, because that's a guy that had a lot of little everyday aches and pain types issues. Excuse me. You know, he had real bad allergies. He had real bad acid reflux. He had, you know, really sensitive skin. He had this, he had that. Okay, bro. Well, if you're sparring and you get a really bad deep bruise, this is something that you do to help with that bruise. Now you've got this skin condition. Let's see if some of these bruise treatments that help with repairing the skin and restoring it to normal function, let's take a look at your condition and see how they affect you. Oh, you have a lot of sinus issues. You know, get seasonal allergies in every single season. Okay, well, let's work on improving that respiratory function. Oh, shoulder always hurts. Doctor wants to cut you open and shave down some of the bone in the joint. Wants to do this, wants to do that. I got a better idea. Here's this range of motion exercise that will literally repair this problem and improve the quality of the mechanical action. The anatomical aspect in martial arts is embedded in literally every single part of it. So, but most people normally don't appreciate it until it comes to the punch here to get this effect. Do this to prevent yourself from being punched here and being subject to this effect. I guess we know what we're going to do the next episode on: recovery practices.
Cool. This is a really good one. This is like, I feel like this is a really good follow-up to, the last one was the partner drill, right?
Yeah.
Was the last one partner drill?
Yeah.
Because it's kind of like, I don't know, it just feels like opening a door in terms of like work to be done, you know, like it's just sort of like where, yeah, like it's like of course anatomy. I don't know why that's so like it feels like a blind spot before, you know.
Yeah.
Go
Go ahead.
I have a really nice copy of Grey's Anatomy. So when I was at School of Infantry, I bought so many books. I had to get two more more sea bags to get them all home. And this really nice copy of Grey's Anatomy was one of them. And it was just really funny. I was like, if I'm going to learn how to fight a war, I want to learn the proper parts of the body. But also, if I have to carry around a medikit, I want to be able to know what I need to fix if I get broken or my homeboy gets broken. Or if I'm on the verge of death, I want to know how to prevent it. Like if I'm staring death in the face and I'm like, you're not taking me today, you know?
Yeah. How do you make that anything but an empty boast?
Yeah.
You have to learn how the body works. Otherwise, it's just talk.
Yeah, it's just talk. So I picked up a copy and I was just skimming through it, but a lot of it was medical terminology that I wasn't familiar with. And at the time, I couldn't be bothered to really learn any of it, learn any of the Latin terms.
Yeah.
So it just gathered dust on my shelf, but eventually at another job, I was working loss prevention. I ended up cracking it open because I wanted to be able to take somebody down without having to kill them. So I was reading over the muscles in this area where the windpipe is and where the esophagus goes down, where the bronchial tubes break off.
Yeah.
And I was going through it, and my manager's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "We just had a situation where a guy, his eyes started marbling over because I was squeezing his neck too hard. I don't want to do that again. I don't want to have to call. I don't think we should have to call an ambulance if I hurt somebody really bad." And he's like, "Oh." So he went off to go whatever kind of bullshit paperwork or watch porn in his office or whatever. And the next time something like that happened, we had this guy that was trying to steal like $150, $200 worth of merchandise. And I actually put his head down up against the curb. I put his arm up, and with his other hand, he was trying to light a match to try to light my beard on fire.
Fucking idiot.
And I ended up just putting my elbow just right in his neck and started pressing right here, and the curb was here, and he was going like this. And so I kind of just held him there, and it got to the point where he couldn't reach my head anymore, so he was just trying to do this, but his arm was over here, and he was just trying to light this match, and it was just right in my face. He wasn't going to light my face on fire, but he was desperately trying. And I just held him there and waited for my coworkers to show up, and the detective and the manager to come running out. And I had my handcuffs in my back pocket, so I was like, yeah, just reach back there and slap the handcuffs on him. And, oh, for fuck's sake. Yes!
But that story, I love that. It's not the first time I've heard that story from him, Matt. And it's great because that's what a little knowledge of anatomy can do.
Yeah.
You know, it can get you a good portion of the way on the road to learning effective joint manipulations.
Hey, don't fight it. Hey, now you don't think about them.
So you don't have to.
Hey.
You don't have to learn how to, choke somebody out. You understand, right? Pressure here makes people not be able to breathe. So you can figure out from there. A grip here controls. A grip here chokes out.
Mm-hmm.
It's good stuff.
Are there any good? Are there any Qin Na books you'd recommend?
Well, I mentioned the YMAA ones.
Yeah.
Let's see. I would recommend any of them, honestly. His DVDs, especially the newer ones on Qin Na.
Awesome.
I really recommend the Taiji Qin Na book and the Taiji Qin Na DVD. That's dynamite, because if you get the DVD as it exists now, you're going to get the current version of the DVD where there's a lot of teaching. There's a lot of information.
Yeah.
And there's a bonus disc that also has what the original Taiji Qin Na VHS tape was like back in the day. Back in the late 80s and early 90s, most of the videos that YMAA released, they were demonstration videos, not instruction videos. But over the years, Dr. Yang got more comfortable with basically giving a lecture on camera. So, you know, you get a lot of information there. He'll go into the, you know, it's not the same as having a teacher right next to you that you can endlessly question for years on end. But, you know, it's something that I very much recommend. Yeah, Taiji Qin Na is probably my favorite joint lock DVD. There's another one too. I'll see if I can pull it up. I'll send it to you. From Plum Publications, you know those people.
I think I have them saved somewhere, and I was looking at some of their stuff.
Yeah, they're a great resource for getting books, DVDs on Asian martial arts in general, but specifically Chinese martial arts. You can get stuff in English. You can get stuff in Chinese, like dual language, just Chinese, just English. It's definitely worth it. Check it out, you know, and their stuff arrives pretty quickly.
Cool.
As well. So I highly recommend their material. But yeah, they Qin Na is it's one of those things that is so easy to learn, and the benefits to learning it are like you can't exaggerate enough. Of like if you had to pick just one martial arts type skill to learn, you know, if you're one of those, you know, those people, well, I don't want to hurt anybody, I don't believe in violence. Great. You don't want to go blasting people in the nose, knocking people out. You don't want to be taking arms and legs off and heads with swords. Okay, learn joint locks. Again, as I've said before in talking about Taiji Chuan, the whole thing about Taiji was that it was originally civilian self-defense. Joint locks, restraints, wrestling. I don't want to hurt you. I won't let you hurt me. That kind of stuff, you know? That's what that technique, those techniques are all about. So it's something that more people should pay attention to. It's an easy skill to pick up. I mean, granted, it's a lot easier to pick up striking from a book on your own than it's going to be to pick up Qin Na, but you know, a good video demonstration, a little bit of care, and one or two friends that are willing to practice with you, you can pick up a lot. You know, you see little kids all the time pick up basic holds and basic like locks from watching something like WWF, you know, or pro wrestling. Yeah. So it's easy to play around, not hurt somebody, but still actually get a grasp of this skill, you know? And if you have an opportunity to train with somebody who's good at it, you know, all the better. And one of the nice things about Qin Na is there's no way to really fake being good at Qin Na. When somebody's good at it, you're going to know. And everybody's going to admit it because you bend that guy's arm all back around, you know, making him choke himself with his own hand from the other side. Like, you're going to know when someone's good at Qin Na. So I do definitely, I do recommend everybody learn that particular skill. All right. So I'm having trouble finding, there's something that I wanted to shoot you guys that I will after we're done filming on the Qin Na. And if I can't find it, I have another way to basically get that information to you. So, but yeah, anatomical targets aren't just places that you punch. They're also places that you bend and twist and grab and poke. They're not just, punch them here and they'll get knocked out, kick them here and they'll fall over. It's also, put your fingers together like this, put them in this part of the body, apply force in this direction, see what happens. And it's easy to show people. Again, like I just said about Qin Na, when it comes to disrupting people's breathing, that's easy. I don't have to hurt you. I don't have to leave a bruise on you. I can literally take one finger and poke you here. See how that messed you up? Now imagine if I actually drove my knuckle in there. I'm pretty sure I've done that sort of thing with both of you guys in the past, haven't I?
You haven't done that with me yet. I was hoping you were going to do that to me last time I was up there.
Well,
just
now that I'm
somewhere
healthy,
and make it hurt.
Now that I'm healthy,
I'll be going on another road trip soon enough, I'm sure.
Welcome, Alex. You are now a body for my human experiment.
As long as I get something out of it, like learning.
Oh yeah, that's the best, because it's one of those things. That's one of the things that makes me a traditional teacher. Learn by doing.
Mm-hmm.
Learn by doing. Well, I'm saying it like, oh, have it done to you, and then you'll understand how to. Yeah, I didn't learn how to make people shit their pants by having somebody hit me and make me shit my pants. I learned how to make people shit their pants because I got drunk one night in college and I hit somebody in a particular spot, and they shit themselves, and I was like, oh.
Were you in a real fight, or were you fucking around with a friend of yours?
Let's just say there's a reason. I came around to the first school that I went to, because even if you were my friend, I was accidentally making people shit themselves.
You made me shit myself.
How did you do that? I thought we were friends. We are?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah. But I did, from having it applied on me, I did learn, if you do it like this, they poop. If you do it like this, well, it's not shit that comes out, it's blood, and that's bad. Because I made the mistake of demonstrating the technique for someone. I took the man called Tubbs, and I was like, hey, you want to learn how to bust a motherfucker's doo-doo line and make them shit their pants? This is how you do it. And I snatched up one of his other friends, and shit himself, and I passed on the technique. And then like 6 months later, I'm trying to sign myself into a building in downtown Boston as a courier. And, well, I had learned enough about martial arts to have a danger sense, but I wasn't good enough to react to it and avoid the incoming strike. And I got my doodle line busted incorrectly. So later that day, I went and took a shit, and there was a little bit of blood mixed in. And I was like, oh, motherfucker. And that was when I made my decision. From now on, I will always be the best. And he's never been better at martial arts than me since.
Who was the guy that punched you?
The man called Tubbs. Fat bastard.
Oh, did he just caught you when you weren't paying attention?
Yeah, he bit he came up, he successfully snuck up behind me.
He did you did what the other guy, you did what Jeremy did to him, right? Like,
yeah. He's the one that's like, that day I realized I am never sharing. If I learn something that could potentially kill someone if you do it wrong, I'm not sharing that with just anybody, just willy-nilly ever again.
Yeah.
I am never letting anybody sneak up behind me ever again, unless I want them there because I'm going to do something fucked up, like mule kick them in the crotch, you know? I am never going to let somebody who's less talented than me beat me because they worked harder than me. Because that was where it was at. This is a smaller, weaker, less athletic person. And if that was a fight, like a real fight, I'd have been on the ground incapacitated if he'd done that with intent to injure. Because he completely got the drop on me and completely got me by surprise. and he correctly struck an anatomical target. He didn't realize what he was doing. So instead of just doing something hilarious, like making me poop a little in my pants or, do a hilariously, embarrassingly loud fart, he fucking damaged my large intestine and made me shit a little bit of blood later in the day. So that's another benefit of learning about anatomy. You understand the difference between, we've mentioned this in talking about Xingyi theory before, a heavy application kills, a light application incapacitates. So you can hit somebody in the throat in a way that's going to make them stop attacking you and lose the will to fight. Or you can hit somebody in the throat in a way that's going to make them die immediately. What's the difference? Like where's the difference there in those two applications of force? Studying anatomy is going to teach you the difference between heavy and light. So, and practicing these skills with your fellow students and your friends is going to teach you the value of competitiveness. I'm never going to let any motherfucker be better than me again unless he's better than me. Fuck that. I'm not getting snuck up on ever again. No. If it wasn't for the Crohn's disease, I never would have pooped myself ever again. Fucking fuck that. So, anyway, embarrassment aside. Yeah, it's impossible to really overstate or overestimate the value of learning about anatomy when you're studying martial arts for health or for serious self-defense. You especially need it for serious self-defense, but you especially need it for health. So it's a must-have area of knowledge that is disgracefully underemphasized by martial artists of many styles nowadays. So, thoughts, questions, comments? Dead air.
Yeah.
Okay, well, if in that case, I suppose we could actually do the audience a favor and cut this one a little short this time. So instead of our normal 90 to 100 minutes, let's just polish this one off now. I think this has been a very fruitful discussion, obviously, and we got a new topic for next episode, recovery practices. So for the Kung Fu discussion group, I am your Uncle Sickness. You can find me on Twitter at Sickness Kung Fu, or check the website, sicknesskungfu.com. Also, we now have an email list. Sign up for that. First one went out actually just a couple of days ago. I've got a bunch on deck, and at some point, Matt, you'll be writing for the list as well, won't you?
I got it cooking. I got it in here.
Excellent. That's what I want to hear. Where can the people find you?
So check me at YogaMidnight. I do stuff on Twitter, but I kind of just fuck around on there. I do more stuff on Instagram.
Excellent. How about you?
I'm also on Twitter. I'm also on Twitter at Maeko the Cal. Maeko Decal, at Maeko Decal. There we go. I'm also on Instagram, Titanium Lung. It's mostly just pictures of animals, but I do most of the writing is on the website, which I'm going to work on again. But Twitter also, just a lot of messing around.
That's what it's for. Shit posting extraordinaire. Fun stuff. All right. This has been the Kung Fu discussion group. Everybody, build up your Kung Fu.
Stupid? No good? With no talent? You shouldn't talk like that. We can fix your problem very quickly.